At Disneyland Park, my primary weenie would be Sleeping Beauty Castle in the distance, drawing entering guests down Main Street towards the hub. Once at the hub, looking into Tomorrowland, they would see a huge rocket ship, which would act as a weenie to draw them into that land. Frontierland would have the Mark Twain Riverboat as its weenie. The weenie principle is still used by Disney designers today. What am I talking about? Tomorrowland? Disneyland? Where am I? I don't know this place. Oh, I do know this place. Excuse me. Welcome, gentlemen and ladies, to my office here at the Walt Disney Studios, named after me, of course. With tonight's opening in Los Angeles of our new feature-length film, Song of the South. I guess I'm a little distracted. But you know, Song of the South is another attempt of ours to feature live action in our movies. You know, we've had scenes of live action in Fantasia, The Reluctant Dragon in 1941 with Robert Benchley, and wasn't Benchley good in that? I thought so. But in Song of the South, we combine live action with animation, with cartoons. And we've been experimenting with this combination for a long time now, and it looks as if we finally succeeded with Song of the South. You know, I've always had a conviction that by combining live actors with animated cartoons, we could make the techniques of filmmaking practically limitless. And you know, I've always believed that the world is half actual and half fantasy. You know, the dream world can't be photographed with real people, nor can cartoons give the impression of reality. So, why not put them together? And that's just what we've done with Song of the South, which is set in the period right after the Civil War in this country on a southern plantation. It features Uncle Remus, the character made famous from the popular Tales of Uncle Remus by Joel Chandler Harris. Anyway, we brought you all here today because you all practically had the same request. You asked me about what motivated me going from cartoons to building this motion picture studio. Some of you asked what my background was and my schooling. And you know, I'm delighted to talk about the company and myself, and if your readers are interested, well, that's just fine with me. And I hope you'll include a mention of Song of the South in anything you write. Well, I'll just start at the beginning then. On New Year's Day, 1888, Elias Disney and Flora Call, my parents, were married. Over the next 5 years, 3 sons were added to our family: Herbert in 1888, Raymond in 1890, and Roy in 1893. By the time my mother became pregnant again, some 8 years later, my parents were living in Chicago, where Dad was making a living as a carpenter and builder. Well, on December 5, 1901, a 4th child, Walter Elias Disney, was born. And well, that was me. I was named after my family's pastor. The pastor, in turn, named his son Elias after my father. 2 years later, a little girl, Ruth, arrived, and the Disney family was complete. But you know, my parents were unsettled by the raucous, saloon-centered nature of their neighborhood in Chicago. When 2 neighborhood boys were arrested for killing a policeman, that was the last straw. My father's brother, Robert, he owned some property in Marceline, Missouri, a community of about 5,000 that had sprung up along the route of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad. And Marceline, that's spelled M-A-R-C-E-L-I-N-E. Yes, we're good. Well, you know, in April of 1906, our family settled there on a 45-acre farm. We lived in a square, small house built by a recently deceased Civil War veteran named William Crane. The house was shaded by broad weeping willows, cedars, and silver maples. I remember the community spirit that infused that corner of the world, particularly at harvest time, when friends and neighbors worked together like one big family. It happened on one of those zippity-doo-dah days. And that's the kind of day when you can't open your mouth without a song jumping right out of it. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-ay, my oh my, what a wonderful day. Plenty of sunshine headed my way. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-ay, Mr. Bluebird's on my shoulder. It's the truth, it's actual, everything is satisfactual. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-ay, wonderful feeling, wonderful sure how well, sorry about that, folks. You know, I like to sing, but I'm just not... Well, anyway, back to me, my life. You know, my sister Ruth and I, as the babies of the family, we had few tasks on the farm, and those we did have weren't overly strenuous. My memories of the farm are almost entirely favorable, with the possible exception of the time I got into big trouble for doodling on the barn with black sticky tar. The same wasn't true of my older brothers, who labored mightily to help Dad squeeze a decent living out of the land. As I grew older, my universe expanded to the town, where I grew friendly with a variety of interesting characters, like Erastus Taylor, a Civil War veteran who told me a succession of dramatic tales of battles long past. When John Brown raided Harper's Ferry in 1859, he set in motion events that led directly to the Civil War in 1861. Northerners called it the War of the Rebellion. Southerners, the war between the states. You know it simply as the Civil War. Well, more than 10,000 military actions of one kind or another took place during the Civil War. Some of them were big battles like Gettysburg or Vicksburg. Most of them were small affairs, many of them forgotten today. For example, on November 6, 1861, General Grant left Cairo, Illinois, by steamers in conjunction with 2 gunboats to make a demonstration against Columbus, Kentucky. The next morning, General Grant learned that Confederate troops had crossed the Mississippi River from Columbus, Kentucky to Belmont, Missouri to intercept 2 detachments sent in pursuit of General Thompson and possibly to reinforce General Price's force. Well, General Grant, he landed on the Missouri shore out of the range of the Confederate artillery at Columbus, and he began marching the mile to Belmont. At 9 in the morning, an engagement began. We routed the Confederate troops out of their Belmont cantonment and destroyed the rebel equipment and supplies we found because we didn't have the means to carry them off. Now, the scattered Confederates reorganized and received reinforcements from Columbus. Counterattacked by the Confederates, we withdrew, re-embarked, and returned to Cairo. A small affair, but a tough one, and I was there. Erastus. Well, that's old Erastus for you. Where was I? Oh yes, family. Well, family was ever present in my young life, including Grandma and Uncle Mike, who was a railroad engineer. Uncle Mike would come roaring into town behind the throttle of a giant locomotive, carrying striped bags of candy for us kids. And then Aunt Margaret, Uncle Robert's wife, she would always bring me tablets and these Crayola things, and I'd always draw Aunt Margaret pictures, and she'd always rave over them. And then in 1908, Herbert and Raymond, they decided they'd had enough of farming and departed for better times in Chicago. So that left my parents, my brother Roy, myself, and my little sister Ruth. Well, then, in the fall of 1909, I started at the brand new Park School in Marceline, but I wasn't to be there long. In the fall of 1910, my brother Roy, he contracted typhoid and almost died. He recovered slowly, but my father knew we couldn't keep the farm afloat, so the farm was sold, and the family moved to Kansas City in the summer of 1911. Well, paradise was lost. So dear to my heart, that September-y day, with the leaves turning brown and gold, when you were the dream I would hold, so dear to my heart. Oh, excuse me, gentlemen, ladies, just one moment. Yes, Lucille? Yes, Walt. Yes, Walt, not sir. Not yes, sir. Lucille, we've talked about this. Good. Now, what's going on? Oh, Charlie. I'll put him on. Sure. Hey, Charlie, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine, thanks. Uh-huh. Yes. Oh, we had a great opening in Atlanta last night. Uh-huh. That's right, it opens in LA tonight. We're all very excited over here. It's a great picture. I'm very proud of this one. What? Who? No, I haven't heard anything from them. What? Really? Can they do that? Well, they're offended. An idyllic master-slave relationship? Well, that's not true at all. I mean, this is after they've all been freed, for goodness sakes. These people aren't slaves. depicted him as indolent. Well, indolent. Well, you know, Charlie, we're not trying to put across any message. We've made a sincere effort to depict American folklore, to put Uncle Remus' stories into pictures. I don't believe this. Well, listen, Charlie, I've got to get back to you. I'm right in the middle of an interview here, and, well, I just got to get back to you, okay? Okay, I'll do that. Thanks, Charlie. Hey, Lucille, hold all my calls for a while, will you? I don't want to talk to anybody right now. Well, except you, of course. I love talking to you. And send Bobby in right away when he gets here, will you? I mean, he's supposed to be here now, isn't he? Uh-huh. Well, have you heard anything from his parents? Okay, well, just track him down if you can, okay? Thank you, Lucille. Oh, one more thing, Lucille. Look up the word indolent. Yes, and, well, that's I-N-D-O-L-E-N-T, and get back to me, okay? Thank you, Lucille. Sorry about that, folks. Bobby Driscoll is on his way here. I want you to meet him. He and Luana Patton, they're our first contract players here at the Walt Disney Studios. Just like MGM, we've got our stars, real people stars, too. Luana, that's a pretty name, isn't it? And she spells it L-U-A-N-A. And Bobby Driscoll and Luana Patton, they're both in Song of the South, and they're both very talented young children. And, well, we asked Bobby to come down here today, and I'm sure he'll be here soon. You know, Bobby Driscoll is one of the most talented young actors out there today. He really is. And he's a good kid, too. You know what he said to me the other day? He said, I'm going to save my money and go to college, and then become a G-man. That's a funny line. And he's only 9 years old. Well, I wonder where he is. I get worried about these kids. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, Kansas City. In Kansas City, my father bought a newspaper route, and my brother Roy and I were his staff, and he imbued in us a drive for perfectionism. I rose at 3:30 in the morning and was required to place customers' newspapers behind their storm door, not out on the lawn like other newsboys. In winter, crawling up icy steps carrying heavy bags of paper more than once drove me to cold tears. As a result, my school days were characterized by intermittently successful efforts to stay awake. Occasionally, though, I'd surprise my teachers. In the 5th grade, I presented the Gettysburg Address, came to school dressed as Lincoln, and performed for every class in the school. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. I memorized and presented the entire speech, of course. I love theatrics. Oh, I studied Charlie Chaplin movies for tips on performing. I and a buddy of mine, Walt Pfeiffer, we worked up little skits to act out at amateur night competitions. Oh, and around this time, I started drawing my own versions of Maggie and Jiggs, a popular comic strip of the day. You can take a look at this and pass it around, but give it back to me because it may become valuable someday. Well, you know, I've heard people talk about my father as if he was a ne'er-do-well, someone who bounced from job to job, but in fact, his newspaper route was very successful, and he started investing money in a jelly firm in Chicago, the Ozell Company, and that's O-Z-E-L-L, Ozell, very good. Now, Ozell planned to produce a bottled carbonated beverage, and my father was convinced that such drinks had a big future. Little did he know. So he sold the newspaper route, increased his investment in the company, and became head of the company's plant construction and maintenance. Now this, of course, required moving to Chicago. And when my family left for there, I chose to stay behind for the summer. And I stayed in our family's home in Kansas City with Roy, and my oldest brother Herbert, who by this time was married, and he had a 2-year-old daughter, Dorothy. Then at summer's end, I joined my family in Chicago, where I attended McKinley High School. And after my freshman year there, Roy decided that it would be educational for me to get a summer job selling newspapers, candy, food, and soda on the Santa Fe Railroad. Oh, I love the uniform, the trains, the chance to see the country. You know, but I paid scant attention to the business end of the enterprise, however, and I wound up losing money. I didn't mind. I mean, I never do anything for the money. Anyway, that fall, I returned to school. Oh, thank you. This may have been valuable someday. But I returned to school that fall. But, you know, my mind was thousands of miles away on the battlefields of Europe. I wanted to be part of the war to end all wars. But in the meantime, I attended classes at the Chicago Institute of Art, worked at the